Hello, and thank you for tuning in. Whether you're tuning in live or whether you're tuning in after this live stream has been uploaded, which will be obviously as soon as it finishes. So sorry, it's nearly midnight here. Trying to get my head together. So, what I'm going to be talking about in this live stream some of the calls that came in on the line yesterday. So we're on the 1st of May, and yesterday we had Erica and we had Matt Dillahunty on the line. So some interesting calls came in. I thought it was quite a good show, actually. I think Matt and Erica work really well together. Erica is an absolute delight. Her knowledge is astounding. I'm really glad that she was on the show today because there were one or two calls where her knowledge was certainly very important, particularly Shawana's call. And overall, I thought the show went fairly well. Of course, Matt lost his temper once or twice, but probably wasn't as bad as the previous episode as when he was on with Forrest. And that show didn't go so well, I thought. I've said before that I don't think that Forrest and Matt work particularly well together. And I didn't really think it went too well. Well, it didn't go. It went badly, actually, particularly Zeno's call. And we need less of these sort of raging responses from Matt. That is not a good thing, I think. But that is another subject for another stream, perhaps. I was going to do one on what is Matt's contribution at the moment to the online atheist cause. Is he a positive force for the movement, or with the way that he's become the sort of archetypal angry atheist, completely intolerant, triggered so easily, is he becoming a liability? Well, that's a question for another episode, I suppose. But let's just have a look at some of these calls that came in. Oh, by the way, so yeah, after I've done that, I was in the newsagent today, and I saw this magazine, Nexus magazine. It's subtitled "The Alternative News Magazine." Now, my best friend's a conspiracy theorist. I hear from him many claims, but I don't really hear evidence. And when I ask him why does he believe these things, he says, well, he's done the research. And he happened to mention Nexus magazine. Yeah, he cited it. He said, oh, I read about it in Nexus. Well, today I was in the newsagent in the UK. That's what we call them, newsagents. I'm not sure what you call them in America. And I saw this magazine. So I thought, let's have a look at it. So I took it out and started reading a bit. More of that later. So I'm going to be reviewing this magazine and my thoughts about it. So let's just get through the calls. There are only a couple of calls I really want to talk about. So we had Shatubi's call, which didn't last very long. It was a call from a Christian, and no evidence was offered. It was just all about the Bible. So that only lasted 4 minutes. Derek then called in and claimed that Adam and Eve were the first people created and that evolution is a lie. You know, I don't know. I think that some of these creationists must live in some sort of echo chamber, and they probably only ever visit Christian websites and creationist websites, because let's face it that the Church of England, the Roman Catholic Church, and most of the major denominations have accepted what science has got to say about the theory of evolution. They've said that their business is not science. Their business is spirituality and theology, and that it's not their business to say whether scientific theories are right or wrong. So they've kind of accepted, that's a tacit acceptance of the theory of evolution. And I know a lot of Christians just accept that the theory of evolution is basically true. Yeah, it hasn't been falsified. And since the middle of the 19th century, when Darwin published his monumental work, the greatest theory probably the world has ever known, there has really been no proper challenge to it. Okay, it's been modified, it's been fine-tuned, if you like, as more evidence has come in. But the basic principle is there, that life evolved from very, very simple beginnings through tens of thousands of incremental steps driven by, obviously, biology and survival of the fittest, effectively, genetic mutations. So yeah, I mean, I've read The Blind Watchmaker, and I've read some of Origin of the Species. I know in a very basic way, in a very rudimentary way, how evolution works, and the evidence seems to be there with the fossil record, etc. Geology provides us with the time scale of hundreds of millions of years. I mean, it all makes sense. The evidence is there. It's been well supported. As far as I'm concerned, it's a done deal. And yet we still have Christians coming in saying, oh, it's a lie. It's not true. It's intelligent design. There's plenty of evidence, etc., etc. And I've even met, creationists. I've stood face to face with them. And they've said to me, well, look at people who believe in the theory of evolution. How many of them have actually read Darwin from start to finish? I mean, as if it makes a difference whether people have read Darwin from start to finish or not, as to whether the theory of evolution is true. I mean, I haven't read up on the theory of the germ theory of disease. I'm sure there's a book somewhere this size about it. I don't have to read up on the science to accept that it's true. If there are certain scientific facts. The onus is not on me, for example, to prove that the world is a globe. I mean, it's an accepted scientific fact, and it's now become an accepted scientific fact that the theory of evolution is true. And the only people who are saying that it isn't are typically Christians, creationist Christians. They should go and convince their own kind that evolution is false and not come to atheists, because there are probably more Christians who believe in evolution than who believe in creationism. Yeah, so anyway, that was Derek. Can you believe it? Adam and Eve were the first people created. Can you believe that there are people in the world with all the information and all the science at our disposal who actually believe that? Well, they do, and I've met them. Okay, so Chris called in, and his thing, let's see, that was quite a long call. Yeah, so Chris was all about morality and where it comes from, that we've got this intuition about what is right and wrong, and obviously that intuition must come from God. If it's good, it aligns with God, and if it's bad, it's in misalignment with the divine. That's his point. And Matt got round to asking him a very, very good question. Is somebody being gay in alignment with God? Yeah, good question. Very, very good question. You can actually embarrass a Christian with this question, because there's no doubt, if you read the New Testament, particularly Paul's letters, that homosexuality is frowned upon as something which is unnatural, against God, and a sin, something which is indulgent purely for pleasure, and therefore a sin. And Chris, to his discredit, said, well, it's out of alignment with God, and that people are made the way they are. Biology is biology, and yeah, it's out of alignment with God. And Matt said, well, does that mean it's evil? And he said, no, it doesn't. It doesn't necessarily mean it's evil. Matt called him a liar and said, well, you're a liar then, because you previously said anything that's out of alignment with God is evil. So, and yeah, obviously, he tried to avoid saying that homosexuality is evil, but the conclusion that one would have to draw from his interpretation of the Bible is that homosexuality is evil, and yet he wouldn't admit that. And he was soon sent packing. He was sent on his way. So that call came to an end. And then we had Shauna called in. Now she's like a sort of a new age, what I call woo merchant, believes that, and I've come across this. I came across a Christian recently, or not a Christian, sorry, somebody who believes in God, and said that there's good and there's evil, as if these are actual things out there. That good and evil is some kind of there are like energy sources. There are two poles. There's good and there's evil. They're energy sources which are out there, and that we either tap into those when we do something good, or we tap into evil when we do something evil. And she had no evidence to back up this claim that this polarity exists as an actual objective force of some kind, or source somewhere. I don't know whether it's supernatural or whether it's in the natural universe. She didn't elaborate, but she somehow found it helpful to think about good and evil in those terms. Not that people just do things which we label good and bad because of our nature, because of the way that our psychology, because of our flaws. I mean, in terms of the bad things that we do. And yeah, so Erica, she seemed to be saying that this was particular to human beings. And then Erica said, well, actually, no, because it happens in the animal kingdom too. So Erica's saying, oh, yeah, human beings can tap into this good and evil. And Erica said, well, that's the interpretation you're putting, but we see this in the animal kingdom. We're not the only ones who have got what we would call good and bad behavior. And things like punishments, for example, for bad behavior and altruism, we find also in the animal kingdom. And she gave some brilliant examples about how monkeys sometimes they sometimes imitate a predator coming into the camp, or whatever they call it, just for the fun of it. And this causes panic among the chimpanzees. And then when they find out who did that, they punish it. So they've got their own sort of penal code. And Erica was absolutely, I'm so glad that she was on when Shoana called. Yeah, really good. So then, bizarrely, Shoana went on and then said, oh, yeah, actually, yeah, you're kind of right, because after all, plants do that as well. Well, what do plants do? Well, plants have been measured responding to positive reinforcement from humans. That scientists have actually measured responses from them when human beings have been present and given them positive reinforcement. I suppose what she means by positive reinforcement is saying nice things to the tomatoes, like Prince Charles famously used to talk to his tomatoes and say nice things to them, and apparently they would grow better. Okay. Well, Matt wasn't really too happy with that. And Erica wanted to know, well, what studies in particular? And she said, well, scientists have measured when people are present that we get this reaction. And Matt said, well, that's got nothing to do with good or evil. You're just measuring certain things that are coming from the plant. And when people are present, it doesn't mean that it's good or evil. Or how do you how do you interpret whether it's good or evil for a tomato, for example, when somebody's present? They're just simply measuring something which they observe. And he got quite sort of angry with her. And I suppose that, to her credit, at the end, she said, well, thanks for the call. I've had a good conversation and I'm going to go away and think about it, which actually I think it's a really good way. It's a really good way to end the call. So, yeah, off she went. And then there was Gary who called in, and that was a funny one. That only lasted a few minutes. He called in, and we get Christians calling in to say how rubbish other Christians are when they call in. That's never going to go down well with Matt, is it? And after a couple of minutes, Matt just said, look, I'm not interested in why you think other Christians are no good. That's not what this show is about. I'm not interested in that at all. So I think he just cut him off. He just hung up on him. Well, I think that's about it, really. So I'm just going to so let me just move on. This magazine, Nexus. I apologize for the lighting, and I apologize for the quality of this stream. I was using a very high quality cam on my PC, but at 1080 HD, unfortunately, my connection is not good enough to sort of maintain that, and it kept on breaking. So I'm using my laptop, which has got a lower definition cam on it, and I'm managing to actually maintain continuity of the stream. So yeah, so okay. I mean, it's grainy, but at least we've got continuity, because I've had to abandon a couple of streams. I've got a new cam coming, an old one that is a 780 HD, not 1080. So I should be okay with that. I'm going to connect that to my PC and I'll use that, because I'll be able to maintain continuity on my PC. I'd rather work on my PC than my laptop, but I'm having to work on my laptop to do this particular stream. Okay, yeah. So yeah, this Nexus thing. So it's subtitled "The Alternative News Magazine," and I mean, what's alternative news anyway? I mean, look, the news is the news, right? What is news? It's sort of information, latest information about events and notable things that happen to people and places, politics, sport, and everything, which is presented to give people the most up-to-date information on what's going on around the world, right? So what would alternative news be? Well, as far as I can gather, there's some kind of subtext going on. People claim that there's some kind of subtext to the news that is not being explicitly broadcast, and that what the magazine like Nexus does is it goes out there and it finds out what the subtext is, what is going on between the lines, what is not being said that should be being said, what is being covered up and hidden. And this apparently is the alternative news. This is the stuff that we're not told, right? And so let me just, I picked it up, and there's an editorial right at the beginning. Yeah. Now, of course, my best friend's a conspiracy theorist. He mentioned this magazine, so I decided to buy it. It cost me £5.50, which was painful, because I mean, I don't like spending money on, this kind of thing. And when I sort of leafed through it in the newsagent, I wasn't terribly impressed. So the editorial, written by somebody by the name of Duncan M. Rhodes. He's the editor. So the headline is "One World, One Way or Another," and then he goes on to talk about, we've got the Trump administration, what interesting times we live in, and there are a couple of big issues at the moment. One is that most people in the world seem to want the Palestinians to be spared. Obviously, attacks which are going on and perpetrated by the Israelis, and that it's very difficult to support the Palestinians and say anything against the Israelis at the moment, because around the world it seems that laws are being passed as we speak. Yeah, let me actually read this out. The growing outcry of the people has caused most Western governments to create laws making it not just illegal, but to criticize Israel. Really? Is that true? I don't think it's true in the UK. I'm not aware of any laws that have been passed recently to make it difficult to criticize Israel. Okay, and then he says, but making it so that you go to jail for your crime of opposing genocide. Really? Again, I'm not aware of this. I mean, when I was standing reading this in the newsagent, and I saw red flags. I heard alarm bells all over the place for some of these claims. Okay, so then he goes on. So yeah, then he goes on to talk about UFO disclosure. The UFO disclosure scene is taking an interesting path. Yeah. Okay. Now, my friend has said to me that basically aliens are behind everything that's going on in the world. Yeah. And that people at the top, including Trump, know this, but they're not allowed to say anything, because if they do, it will blow our minds. We won't be able to handle it, and the whole world will be in chaos. That's the claim, right? So yeah, let me just come back to this. While there is official recognition, listen to this. While there is official recognition that the US government has departments, bases, and projects that involve non-human and UFO stuff, really? Well, what is it exactly? Really, is there official recognition that the USA government is involved in non-human and UFO stuff? What is that, like Area 41 or 53 or whatever it is? It says we still await details. Meanwhile, a group of high-level experts in the form of SOL Foundation have emerged. Their panel of experts have credentials and degrees galore, designed to win respect from the media and skeptics alike. However, it is quite clear that this group is preparing to steer the narrative in the direction of UFOs and UAPs as being a possible threat to US national security. Okay. Right. Now, what's really hilarious is that I thought this was a joke when I read it. Okay. So he's saying that, yeah, the whole thing about now, there's this claim about the New World Order that we're moving towards a world government. Why would that be the case? Okay, well, here it is. I'll read it to you. Okay, so cue the plan for a global government. Sorry. Before that, it seems that the USA is in possession of the following technology: teleportation, inertialess drive, anti-gravity, and faster than light travel. Really? Okay. Okay, so the historically inbred ruling class and royal families of Europe have long been working towards this goal of a global government. One day soon, you will be told of the existence of a type of benevolent galactic federation of civilizations. What is this, Star Wars or Star Trek? And how Earth could be a member, but only once we have evolved to the point where we have a representative voice for the entire planet or one world government. Those interesting times ahead we discussed decades ago, well, they are now here. Well, really? Okay. Well, I've been waiting and waiting. My friend's been saying, when the time's right, this will all be revealed to us. Well, okay, I'm still waiting. Nothing's really happening, is it? So there are aliens behind, pulling the strings. All the elite know about it, but somehow, we never really see them. We never hear them. There's no evidence of them. And yeah, right, bro, sure. Okay, so I did have a laugh about that. And he's the editor. I mean, I can't believe that the newsagent, a well-respected newsagent, W.H. Smith in the UK, carry this, but well, why not? I mean, people are entitled to their interests. Then I went to the letters page. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look. So he's talking, this guy's here talking about wildfires, right? Dear Duncan, I've been curiously watching the so-called wildfires in the USA that are consuming homes and sometimes whole suburbs and more. I cannot believe that the fires are wild. Yeah. And then he goes on to say that these are being caused by smart meter technology, right? It says here, all the older homes have been converted to new smart meters over time. Yeah, okay. Um, oh, okay. Well, I won't say any more about that. I mean, we've had fires here where I live as well in Scotland. Amazingly, a couple of weeks ago, all the hills were on fire, and but nowhere near any homes. I mean, we're talking about out. I mean, how could smart meters be causing this? Um, and actually, when I went out for a walk the other day in the countryside in Scotland, somebody had left a barbecue going. They hadn't put it out. You're supposed to put water on it. Yeah, well, it's no wonder that fires are starting if people are being careless. Right. Okay. And now somebody, somebody then wrote in about Neanderthals, and I think that sounded like more conspiracy nonsense. Okay, let me just move on. Okay, there's another one here. Government revealing old news on ETs. Yeah. So he's citing an article by Eric von Daniken entitled "ETs Are Here." Yeah. Well, again, it seems that these conspiracy theorists are obsessed with the idea that aliens. I mean, it wasn't big enough that the Illuminati and the Freemasons and the Bilderbergs were in control of the world. No, they had to go one step higher. And now they're saying that aliens, in turn, are in control of all the people who are pulling the strings. Okay. It was published in 1968, this. So he says here, it has always been as plain as a pikestaff that extraterrestrials have been visiting planet Earth for eons. Really? How's he reached that conclusion? But because this book and its content provided tantalizing evidence that shook up the then scientific establishment's myopic view of a universe that was apparently deplete of other sentient beings other than here on Earth. Okay, so yeah, so he's saying that somehow we wanted to believe that we were the only intelligent beings in the universe, and that we, or scientists, or the world order, suppress this information. Okay, let me just. All right, but of course, even though Van Dyneken's evidence, the evidence of others, and that immaculate constellation, in many of his subsequent books, has shown conclusively that extraterrestrials are not science fiction spectacle, but actual real happenings in our midst. Well, I'd be interested to see that evidence. And has anybody, anybody who's watching now, have you heard of this guy, Von Daniken? Because he's alleging that in his books there's lots of evidence of extraterrestrials. All right, my curiosity, I'm curious enough to go out and actually research this guy. The skeptics and those have always known that Daniken's evidence was the real deal and still know it. Okay, continue to prevaricate and squirm in denial. That's quite a serious allegation. Okay, well, as it's been noted by other commentators, aliens and conspiracy theorists, those in the scientific community have to be very cautious with any pronouncements on a subject that remains controversially dangerous. After all, barring unexplained accidents, they have their incomes and pensions to worry about. You see, this is the problem. You get a claim, for example, there are aliens pulling all the strings, or there were no moon landings. And you say, well, you know, why hasn't it really come out? Because people are protecting their pensions, or because people don't want to be assassinated. I mean, how can you argue with that kind of mindset? I could make up anything. I mean, you know, I could say that I'm visited by aliens every night, and they've shown me the blueprint for human beings when humans were, I mean, before humans were actualized, when they were on the designing board. I could say that aliens have come to me and they've explained the whole shebang to me, the big deal. And the reason they explained it to me is because they'd already assessed me by some advanced means that I would be able to handle this information and be discreet about it. And that they come to me, I know all about it. And the reason that they haven't come out and made it public is because you guys can't take it. The world would descend into chaos if this became public knowledge, and they only pass it to certain people, those who know how to keep it discreet. Okay, so I mean, I've just invented a conspiracy. I mean, I could have said it was real and it's really happening, and nobody could falsify it. And if they say, well, why don't they come out and make this knowledge public? I just say, well, for that reason, because the world would descend into chaos and they need to keep it secret. You could say that about anything. You could invent any nonsense, and you could say, well, there are too many people making money, people protecting their pensions. Of course, that's why evolution is false, because there are too many people like Richard Dawkins milking it. It's their cash cow, and they don't want to come out and admit that either intelligent design is real, or the aliens designed us and plonked us here on this planet as an experiment or whatever, because too many people are making money out of the theory of evolution. Okay, and there's somebody, I wondered actually whether this Duncan guy, this editor of this magazine, believes in flat Earth. So there's a letter, there's a request here, flat Earth article request. Here we are. Hi, Duncan. I would love to read an in-depth article on Nexus magazine on the flat Earth theory, which would examine the following: the firmament, the horizon, Antarctica, etc. Okay, now we've got a reply from the editor. Let's see what he says. Hi, Robin. I've spent more time than I would have liked doing deep dives into what people consider as evidence for flat Earth theory. None of the evidence is real. I could explain it all easily. The fact is that people just don't understand basic science anymore. It also means that if I wrote an article explaining why the Earth is not flat, it would not be understood by flat earthers anyway. Editor, brilliant, fantastic. Now, my friend is a flat earther. I'm going to have to tell him that Duncan is disagrees with him. Brilliant. Well, I mean, I don't believe in Duncan's other claims, but I've got to give him some credit that he's not a flat earther. Fantastic. Okay, well, look, you know, I'm going to make a video on the whole of this magazine. I really just wanted to dip into it. So I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've enjoyed that. And thanks for tuning in anyway. And for those of you who are not watching it live, hope you enjoyed the video. Okay, bye for now.